Okay.
Come to press it?
Yeah.
Or is it in here?
Now I want to hear about Daisy. Tell us about Daisy now.
Well, I think Mama bought this cow from
Here's one already broken.
Cox's. It was an Ayrshire.
By the,
And named
yeah, they
Daisy.
got the
And
ice cream sticks, you
one
know.
day, Mr. Wilcox, one of the neighbors from up a mile or so away, came by in his surrey and he hollered, "Mrs. Anderson, your cow's down." And poor Mrs. Anderson went and looked, and the cow was down. She'd gotten in the alfalfa field, and they're not supposed to eat too much alfalfa. You know, it was green. And the poor thing was laying with her legs in the air, all bloated, and she had died.
Oh, no.
And if you can find them in time, Mr. Benskar, the veterinarian, knew how to stick a knife right in this groin here and let this gas out of them. But if you don't know in time, and she was in the night eating this stuff, she died. It was just bloated this big, you know.
Just one night.
And Mama could least afford to lose the only cow she owned.
What'd you do then?
Well,
Get another cow?
Well, yes, but it cost about $150, which was quite a bit of money, you know.
Did you used to milk her, Andy?
No, I never did know how to milk. Sally and I used to want to learn, but Mama didn't want us to learn on her cow because if you don't teach or learn right or handle it right, they won't give their milk to the person who does know how.
Oh.
Look, we had one in Moscow. Where'd they get that one?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Did you move her up from... Anyway, she was the fastest kicking cow you ever saw. One time when Ellis got snowed in Moscow and didn't get home, and Pup tried to milk her, and I'm standing there with a broom hitting her. Look, she could take this foot here and kick about 6 times as fast as you could think, you know.
She's the one that kicked Ellis in a pile of cow manure.
Yeah. But she liked him because he, as a little boy, could sit there with his head right in her flank, you know. Mother was afraid of him.
Tell Diane about who was it that rode down the river and grabbed hold of the limb on the horse?
Oh, that was
Jimmy?
Ellis. That was Ellis. That was the last time we were back to Tennessee, and I guess Uncle Dewey put him on a workhorse. You know, they went to the river to drink after work.
How old were you then?
He must have been about 5.
Yeah.
And he put him up on this workhorse, and the horse leaned over to get water. But Ellis went under a
And he
limb,
kept walking out.
into the river.
And Ellis was afraid.
So Ellis reached up and took hold of a limb, and the horse walked right off from under him. He dropped down in, and we didn't think he'd ever get on it again. But Uncle Dewey put him on.
And the next breath, he's going to ride it if it killed him.
Who was it that told us the story about the manure pile and the umbrella?
Oh, that was Kyle, I guess, wasn't that?
No.
No, Sally's husband, Paul.
Paul, yeah.
He was going to try to fly off the barn with an umbrella as a parachute. And of course, he jumped. Paul, Sally's husband.
Oh.
And of course, it went the wrong side out. So he was afraid he was going to get in trouble over ruining the umbrella. And he took it and shoved it under the manure pile.
Oh, no.
But Dennis and Joe Mays tried to fly off of our barn in Arkansas with an umbrella. They thought it would be like a parachute, you know. I don't think they all tried it, but they were out there, and I think Joe was the one that...
What happened to my things, you know, those upholstery things?
Cat?
This kind.
We'll tell you about Aunt Laura and Ellis. Were you Ellis? Planting corn?
What happened?
And Mother had 10 acres, but Mr.
Graham.
Graham, he had some land that he didn't till, you know, always, and he told Mother she wanted to plant some roasting ears over there, you know. Was it roasting ears or was it feed for the cows?
I think it was feed corn.
Anyway, she put Laura and Ellis over there. The rows were made. I guess he did it for her, you know. They're coming along, and Ellis, one of them was dropping the corn, and the other was covering it over. Of course, I used to do that and cut Beulah's heels because she was so slow. Anyway, they got tired. And you know what they did? Now, there's a creek right over here. They didn't have enough sense to throw the
Well, we
corn.
had chickens we could have fed it to.
Yeah, but they put all the corn in one hole when they got tired, and that's all the seed corn Mother had. and it all came up, and Mr. Graham saw it.
Then he thought, what kids, they don't deserve anything because here they wasted this.
He didn't have any children, did he?
No, we could have brought it home, fed to our own chickens, and nobody would have known.
Yeah.
But we got rid of it by putting it in the ground, and it just came up like every direction in about a week's time. So then he came and told on us.
Oh, he did?
Oh, tell, another good one I like it. Tell Diane about, your mother and the milk crossing the river or something.
Going over to the same house.
She was going to see Mrs. Graham, who had cancer, and taking her a half gallon of buttermilk.
Because they didn't keep a cow on account of her.
I don't know why they didn't keep one, but anyway, she was going across this to save time. I was there. Yeah, instead of going around the road, which would make her about a mile walk, and it was wet and kind of cold,
I suggested
did you?
that she could jump the
She
creek.
went across a little creek that was in our pasture, and the creek was flooded by the spring rains, and it was wider than she thought. And she jumped on what she thought was land, and it was a piece of mush ice, and she went in over her neck. Well, and of course when she told us about it, we laughed like crazy. And she said, I'm gonna drown. Nobody knew I was there. I had to save myself.
And she came out on the other side, which meant she had to walk clear to the road and back this side, the way that I hadn't wanted her to walk.
Oh, did you watch her?
No, nobody saw her do that, but
She got out all by herself. By the
Oh.
time she got to the house, she had one of those
a gabardine coat.
gabardine coat. It was frozen stiff.
She didn't even
that
catch
poor
cold.
woman.
Then she knew she was going to get pneumonia. She didn't even catch a cold. But a few days before that, or was it after? You
No,
all
it was
started.
before that, and she was mad at us because
They started school, and instead of going around the road that was a square, you went up a square. Allison's Laura decided they could walk across the field and cut that big square off. And Sally wouldn't do it.
yes, she did, but she was lighter than we were.
Oh,
She
yeah.
didn't sink in the mud.
She didn't sink in. And then they get back to the house. Now this happened right up a quarter of a mile, wasn't it, from home or less? Sally went out to school. At 11 o'clock they got back to the house.
We got to giggling.
Mud up to here. And
We got to giggling because one foot would go into here, and by the time we got it up, the other one would be in. And we got tickled, and we sat down, and the seat of Ellis's pants were all muddy. We were in high school.
And Mother said,
We were in high school by this time. So we came home, and she was so mad at us for trying to cut off a little space, save going across save this time, that she just gave us the dickens, and we had our shoes and everything had to be washed. So it was only a few days after that she, to save a little time, went through the pasture. We never did let her forget that.
Never let her forget that.
No.
Did you ever have indoor plumbing?
No, not until
we had an indoor sink, one place in the bowl.
well,
And cold water. You've heard of a cold water flat? Which is a cold water house.
Oh, gosh.
Did you always have hot water on the stove?
yeah, a reservoir on the back of your big iron range,
It's held about 10 or 15 gallons in it.
Yeah. And a tea kettle.
What'd you do for baths?
Oh, we
Saturday
didn't have them
night.
as often as you do. I get to talking to more people our generation. They say they had clean underwear and a bath once a week, and otherwise you just spot washed. And
Sponge
did-
bath.
yeah, but you brought in a galvanized tub by the kitchen stove and bathed, and that was about the extent of it.
That's what we did at Capitola.
Did you?
Remember, Mom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right in the
For the little-
kitchen table.
For the little kids.
Well,
Yeah,
sure.
'cause we weren't ready to take showers.
Sure.
All we had was the shower and no tub.
How about when you taught school? How big a school was that?
She taught
You
school?
don't know that?
No, you didn't tell me any of this.
Well, it wasn't much of a school. There were eight children, 6 grades and 8 children in a little town.
Way over in the woods country.
Yeah, the post office was Park, Idaho, and it was off in the woods. And there was one boy in the 8th grade and one in 1st grade and 2 in the 6th, and I've kind of forgotten where
How
they
old
were.
were you about?
19 or 20, 19.
Were some of them just about as tall as you?
Well, the boy in the 8th grade was, and believe me, I had a hard time getting their 8th grade arithmetic for helping him, and he was very good at arithmetic, or I never would have managed, really. And
And the man there was
I bet he had a crush on his teacher.
Well, I don't think he did really, but the place where I stayed, the 14-year-old did.
Really?
Where'd you stay?
Oh,
I
some
was gonna tell
people,
that.
Oh.
You go ahead and tell it.
some people named Thompson, they'd always kept the school teacher at their house.
But he was the, on the school board, wasn't he, or president, or,
Yeah, he was the,
and he had a housekeeper, wasn't it a lumber thing?
well, it was just a little.
He had to
little-
give his housekeeper Laura's board in order for her, the housekeeper to put up.
She already had decided she wouldn't keep the school teacher this year, but there was no place else to stay. So for $30 a month, I stayed there.
But
Where'd
he
you
gave,
get
but he gave her the
meals,
money,
too?
didn't he?
What?
Meals too?
Oh, yeah,
Well, what did you get paid as a teacher?
$100 a month. And I wasn't supposed to cash my warrants because the school district was very poor. So
You weren't supposed to cash those for several months.
Isn't that a riot?
Yeah, but that year she got a job, Buck and I went up there, and a lot of the girls weren't getting any schools, and so we drove her way over into this,
Yeah, you were there from California, weren't you?
we drove her way over in this back country, you know, to,
Well, one of the teachers that I'd had in the 8th grade was by now the county superintendent of county schools. And she'd hired
A lady over at, who was the daughter of the housekeeper where I was gonna stay. And the daughter came out here from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, but she didn't have an Idaho license, and they wouldn't let her teach. That's how the school was able to be, or I was able to get it late, because there was nobody to replace her in a hurry. And this teacher I'd had was, knew of it, of course, because she was the county superintendent by that time. So that was,
Who was the boy that had a crush on you?
oh, he was the Thompson boy, the one where I lived.
Did he moon around after you?
Yeah, and he came to see me several times after I wasn't there anymore.
Oh, God.
And he never did get it done.
Nellie asked you one time if Ron ever sassed you. She said, no, I wish he would, I would just hit him. He was always gonna do it right away.
We finally hired a Japanese gardener to mow because I couldn't stand waiting till Ron got ready to do it.
Oh,
Well,
boy, don't let David and Christopher hear that.
tell me some more about that.
Yeah. He wasn't impudent, as I say, he just didn't get it done.
Lazy.
I was thinking about doing it.
Sharon was a better yard worker than Ron.
And things haven't changed a bit, have they?
She still likes the yard work.
Do you have a lot of cats on your farm?
Oh, Sally was the cat fancier. She always
Always
had
had 2 or 3 cats under her arm, and I never did like them very well.
We moved 2 cats up to Moscow, and we put them in a box, and you know how they hump up and they're kind of scared? She thought the box was too small, and she was
Sally was always great about cats.
Diane takes right after.
How about dogs? You have a farm dog?
No, I don't think we did have dogs much, did we?
2 or 3 times, though, you had a dog come to you there in Moscow. And one would come,
What happened to all the upholstery things, Keith?
There's some over here in this box.
uh,
Diane, why don't you take some?
Minnis and Louisa came one time, and Mother wasn't home, and Minnis knew how to get in. So, the dog wasn't gonna let either one of us, big collie, and the dog wouldn't let either one of them. So Louisa played with the dog, while Minnis got in the house, then he wouldn't let Minnis come out, or wouldn't let Louisa go in.
What was his name?
I can't remember. It got killed, didn't it?
I
Or did it leave?
don't remember either. Isn't that crazy?
We went home one time with our dog, and Buck and I were somewhere one day, and Mother, in those days, you had a running board on your car, and you had a cupboard to carry your food, you know, and you stop in these, what do you call them? Not motels.
See, we haven't always been rich.
Anyway, Mother decided she'd clean up our, keep the box off when we were running around. She decided she'd clean it up, and Susie didn't see her, so she had all the stuff out on the porch. And then when we got back, the stuff was still out on the porch, because Susie wouldn't let her. She played with them, she liked them, but she didn't want them to touch anything.
Oh, for God's sake.
This is kind of fun to put on, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We went up there one time with this, spinner. She was part police dog. And, we had a little roadster, Ford roadster with a rumble seat. And and Spinner was in that. And we went around a curve, and she fell out. She was standing up. She was so mad at us, she wouldn't even look. She wasn't gonna get, she wasn't gonna look at us when we backed up to let her get in the car.
Turn this off and I'll tell you something that happened on our way down, down with the zebras.
Tell us anyway.
We stopped about halfway between San Diego and Nogales for a sandwich, and when we started out of there, Fred started feeling his pockets and he said, "I've left my glasses, Max. We'll have to go back."
Well, Dad told us, are backing up on the freeway?
Yeah,
That's
and
not me.
found the glasses, but a policeman meanwhile saw us backing up at this entrance to the freeway. It was a side road, and he came, and Jenny says, "He's got to believe us because nobody could make up such a story as we told." Well, if he hadn't backed up, we would never found the glasses.
When you had,
Well, his glasses, he'd left them on the side of the car, I guess, when he was straightening the antenna or doing something, and they fell off. Well, if we'd gone straight ahead, the policeman told us it was 6 miles to a place we could cross and come back. So we decided there was nobody coming, we would back up. And here he came and pulled up alongside, and we thought sure he was going to give us a ticket. But Jenny says he's got to believe us because you never could make up a story as silly as that. Well, then we found the glass case too. But he walked back with Fred to the men's washroom to see if the case was there, and it wasn't. But meanwhile, we drove ahead thinking we'd lost the case, and we'd just go ahead and do without it. And here, about where he found the glasses, there was the case at the side of the road.
I had friends in Los Angeles, and one of them was Johnny Morrow, and Chris and Joyce used to do the same thing. You'd save money all year to have enough money they would to go back to Texas on vacation. And they had around $300, it was going to be the trip. And all at once, John couldn't find his wallet. I didn't know what they were going to do, because they couldn't get very much further with gas, and they probably were halfway there, I can't remember. We were in Arizona somewhere, or New Mexico. And 300 miles later, from the time they lost it, they stopped the car for something that was on the running board.
oh my goodness.
He laid it there, I guess, maybe while he fixed a tire or something, I can't remember the story. There it was, on the running board.
Gosh.
Diane, were you going to see whose night it was for me?
Oh, Zella Fox's daughter was getting ready to go to Europe several years ago, her first trip. Of course, she had the money, but she had her purse, her passport, her tickets, and everything in her purse. And she laid it up on the top of the car while she opened the door. And, of course, it fell off. But she got it all back,
Why not?
Do your job.
You can set the table for the grown-ups in the dining room and for the
Me
kids.
too, Johnny.
Are you a grown-up, aren't you, down
Yes.
there?
All right, so then that's 5 in the dining room and 3 in the breakfast room.
All right.
I don't know how David's going to like that.
Where's where are the boys?
Watching television.
Oh,
14 is the, like a couple of years ago, I told Sharon and Dick they shouldn't put Kathy to bed so early, because of her age and just because the others had to go. So they decided, that fall they would let her stay up longer, but she gets up so early in the morning that she never raises any fuss about it.
Oh, she gets up early.
I said to somebody one time, you suppose the kids that don't need much sleep when they're little, don't need it very much when they're older, and they take too. 45 minutes was a long nap when she was a baby.
Yeah, Sharon used to get so discouraged, you'd plan on getting rid of her for a 2-3 hour nap like you used to sleep. Ron used to be a terrible baby, sleepyhead. And she wouldn't be down any time till she was wide awake again.
I'm having to move it back.
Here, I'll put it in.
Well, shame on
Isn't this house looking classy, Rosemary?
you. Classy.
Oh,
Wait until you see that carpeting too in here.
that's what
Where are you gonna get it?
Well, he's gonna call me tomorrow and give me a definite estimate on, I'm not having the upstairs done, I told you, you know, and,
That's good, huh?
until we find something cheaper. And, then I'm gonna look for some patterned carpeting for the stairway. And he said it could be in a week or 10 days. We wanted to get this stuff all stained, didn't we?
Yeah, and I wanna paint the floor white here.
Yeah. We may wanna paint those tiles too. I don't know that they're gonna add so much with it. If we use the red on the
Of
carpet.
course, you could always use a drop cloth and touch up something.
I'd rather not, you know, but
Don't you think if we painted those tiles white like the rest, it wouldn't draw so much attention to the fireplace?
I don't
don't
think
know.
it matters.
I think it does, Ron, because if we use something kind of elegant on the couches, it just wouldn't go too well with that.
Well, it isn't a thing that's a big job. Why don't you kind of wait till the man comes and ask his opinion too?
Yeah.
I don't mind it myself, but I suppose it is a little bit of a, what would you
It
say?
makes it look Spanishy.
A little Spanishy maybe. I don't dislike the little bit of brown myself with that, but it might be a little more elegant with the all white.
But, that doesn't quite match up the other